Howdy folks, I'm Wildly Weld, wildly weaving warm, waxy willow wreaths.
I'm Amber.
And here are more willow wreaths for us to warmly waxy do those kinds of things. So let's get started on that. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Refuse to Socialize with My Neighbors? I just moved to a small town to a brand new house. It's a small one-bedroom, just built. Next to me, there is a couple in their 60s. And in the front, there's a family. Well, 1 week ago, I got a call from my landlady that the neighbors were asking where I was since they hadn't seen me in a few days. I was on vacation. Well, when I got back, the couple knocked on my door and tried to invite themselves into my house. But I was cleaning and everything was a mess, and I just stayed at the door. They asked me where I'd went and if I had brought them any souvenirs. I told them that I didn't bring anything for anyone, and that was that. Well, I just got a text from my landlady that my neighbors are pretty upset, and the list of reasons. That I leave too early for work and I come back too late. They believe that I don't go straight home from work, and where am I going? I never knock on their door to hang out or call them to come over. I never attend the neighborhood events. They're on weekends, and I go to my parents' place on weekends. They can tell that I cook and they smell my cooking, and I never offer them food or invite them to dinner. I never offer to babysit or pet sit. I genuinely don't know what to answer to her. I really want to tell her that I'm not doing all that, and they can count on me in an emergency, but that's it, and I don't know how to approach this. All right, folks, what do you think?
It's time for the landlady to butt out of this. This is an unreasonable ask on the neighbor's part. They do not need to know where OP is going, why they're not home immediately after work, or what OP's working hours are.
Yeah.
They do not need to expect OP to babysit their kids and feed them dinner. Like, it sounds like these people, OP doesn't even know them, and they're acting like they're like close family. And I understand OP's frustration here. This does not feel fair to OP.
Yeah, I mean, they just feel like busybodies, and I understand OP's frustration. I do not know what they're thinking here because this is completely rude of them to make these kinds of demands. They're relative strangers. If they want to foster a relationship with OP, then they can try to foster a relationship, right? But that's going to be kind of a two-way door at that point in time. It's not all on OP to try and make that kind of effort, right?
Well, that's the thing, is usually they would start by introducing like themselves and like inviting OP over, and they could hope she reciprocates. But, you know, to be like, why aren't you inviting us to dinner? It doesn't sound like they've been pulling out all the stops for OP.
Yeah, it just seems like, what can you do for us, right? And that doesn't really create a cohesive, community environment when people are just kind of looking what other people can do for them, right? And I understand maybe they are frustrated that they don't feel like OP is doing a lot for them. But again, I would ask, what are they doing for OP here? And no one is going to do favors for you if they feel like you are, taking advantage of them, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk If I Sold Concert Tickets that I got for my boyfriend's birthday after he dumped me? My now ex-boyfriend's favorite artist is coming to town on his birthday. He told me that's what he wanted for his birthday. So I got on the pre-sale list and I got him front row seats 3 and 4. I was so excited to surprise him with such good seats. Turns out that he got front row seats 1 and 2. He said that he wanted to make sure that he got good seats, but it hurt that he didn't trust me to get them. Since we happened to get seats next to each other, we just said the more the merrier. So he'll invite some friends. Well, he dumps me. Out of the blue, the concert is in over a month. He never solidified which friends would go with us. There's a financial component as well. I put my 2 weeks in at work on Friday and was banking on the income from those 2 weeks. On Monday, they made me go early. On Tuesday, he dumped me. Tickets are now selling for $1,000 plus. On Monday, I was stressing about losing the last paycheck, and he said that I could sell the tickets. I thought that it was an absurd idea because it's his birthday present. Then on Tuesday, he dumped me. Would I be the jerk if I sold the tickets? Should I just let him have them? I haven't sent them to him yet. I still care for him deeply and would hate to hurt him. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. You're not together anymore. You don't need to give him a birthday present.
Yeah, well, I mean, OP would hate to hurt him, but he stumped her. And I mean, he clearly doesn't care about hurting OP here, right?
Yep.
And I would say that if he is telling OP to sell them, then he probably already had in the back of his head that he was going to dump OP. And he already has in mind who he's going to go to that concert with, too. So, yeah, I would guarantee that OP is probably taking second fiddle to somebody else who he is looking to get together with, right? That's a sad reality. Things like this sometimes happen. And OP should just sell the tickets and get the money back and use that money for themselves here. They're going to need it now.
Yeah.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Relocating My Desk at Work Because a Coworker Uses Too Much Perfume? I had an allergy flare-up a month ago. It brought out some really nasty asthma-related sensitivity that persisted. Even though my symptoms are slowly getting better, there's something in hand sanitizer, perfume, and even scented hand lotions or soaps that can suck the air from my lungs and throw me into a coughing fit. A coworker recently moved into the cubicle next to me. She reapplies perfume throughout the day. It never bothered me before the allergy flare-up. In fact, I think that she smells nice, though a bit strong. After my allergy flare-up, it's really affecting my breathing. So I mentioned to my boss, and she suggested that I could bring it up to my coworker, or I could try to let her know. So I brought it up myself, hoping to avoid feeling like a tattletale. I asked her if she recently sprayed anything on, and she said yes. I mentioned that I was having some asthma issues post-bad allergies, and it felt like even my favorite hand sanitizer was sucking the air out of my lungs. I told her that I forgot my inhaler and asked if she would mind not spraying during the workday at her desk. She seemed apologetic, and that was that. Well, the next week she did it again, and my lungs caught it in before my nose did, and I had a full-on coughing spell, and I didn't have my inhaler. I told my boss again, and she suggested that I could bring it up again, or she could, or I could move to another desk temporarily. I thought to myself, move desks? That's a little extreme. I'll just bring it up again. Well, during this interaction, she admitted that she heard my coughing spell and replied, I feel like a flower around you, whatever that is supposed to mean. I felt like bringing it up again a second time might help her understand that I was still getting over this residual cough and asthma issue. So I told her that I actually like the smell, but my body is still trying to heal, and I just want to get better. She then asked if I had my inhaler, and I didn't, since my asthma isn't something I typically deal with, to which she replied, bring your inhaler. I laughed it off and was like, yeah, it doesn't actually prevent me from coughing or reacting to the alcohol in the perfume or hand sanitizer. It just opens up my airways enough for me to get more air. So I feel like I tried to help her understand my issue. Well, the next week, she comes in fully doused in perfume. So instead of making a fuss, I told my boss that I would be moving my desk permanently to another part of the office. Boom, problem avoided, and I could go back to work comfortably. Only in hindsight do I feel like maybe I was a jerk for making her feel uncomfortable or embarrassed that I'm no longer at my desk. I've been here longer than her, and my boss and coworkers have noticed the change. When they ask why, I tell them that I had an issue with my desk and needed to move. But I feel like she knows why I moved and is either embarrassed or uncomfortable because now she won't talk to me and avoids me. I'm not complaining about the distance between us, but I also feel like there was a less obvious or extreme solution. Am I the jerk for moving my desk permanently? And is there another solution that I could have done so that we could both come out unscathed? Edit, born with asthma, and I grew out of my asthma over the years, and have had several years with no symptoms. I admit that it's irresponsible for me not to keep a rescue inhaler all the time. My inhaler was expired for over a year, and although I got a refill shortly after the first incident, it was in my car the second time, and left at home the third. I really thought that I was over the residual symptoms by week 3. I appreciate the feedback. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. And honestly, I feel like your company is not doing enough to address this because this is a health issue. Offices in general are scent-free environments so that to protect people because lots of people have scent allergies. I understand not wanting to make things awkward. I don't think OP did anything wrong, but I don't know why the boss didn't after the second time. Like, I understand the boss the first time saying, oh, maybe you want to talk to her. Like, that's fine. But when she continues to do this, the boss needed to step in and be like, hey, we have an allergy in this office. You need to stop wearing the perfume, or go to HR and just have HR send out a mass email to everyone being like, you can't have heavy fragrances.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that would have been a better approach for the company to do. I don't really blame OP like you. I think that they did everything on their end right here, and I think that the company failed OP and failed to protect OP. And while while it might not be that big of a deal right now, it could have been, right? I mean, it could have been a situation where maybe this was them getting unlucky and they have a massive asthma attack that could cause them to have a prolonged their airways closed for longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that OP did anything wrong here. They really tried to handle this civilly and diplomatically, but it seemed like the coworker had a chip on their shoulder just being asked for this one simple request, right?
Mm-hmm.
OP didn't even ask them to not apply perfume permanently. They just said, hey, can you hold back a little bit while I'm recovering here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't even accommodate that one simple, very reasonable request.
And sometimes people have health issues that kind of conflict. Their health conflicts with your desires. You do not need to wear heavy perfume to work.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the coworker is like, oh well, I feel like I have to, like, I don't remember her exact.
You're a wildflower around me,
Yeah.
or whatever.
It's like all you have to do is not douse yourself in perfume until OP is better. And like, it's almost like she was doing it despite OP at a certain point.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like it was a chip on her shoulder being asked for this very reasonable request, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for turning off someone's alarm in my work's break room? Someone's phone alarm was going off when I entered the break room to grab my lunch. I got outside, but when I came back into the room about 25 minutes later, the alarm was still going off. So I found the phone and I shut it off. When I did that, someone in the break room told me that I shouldn't be touching other people's stuff, especially their phones. But I told him that if you set an alarm and then leave it in the break room chiming for at least a half hour, then you shouldn't be mad if someone shuts it off. He then told me that he was going to tell HR that I was digging through people's things. The phone was on the table, not in a bag or anything like that. If I did it again. I don't know why he's so pressed by it and how he wasn't annoyed by the alarm. I feel 99% sure that I'm not the jerk here, but should I have just let the alarm keep going off until whoever it belongs to came back? All right, folks, what do you think?
I am a little bit mixed on this one. Like, I don't think OP is in the wrong for wanting the alarm to stop. It is unreasonable to just have an alarm going, but it might have been a better move to report it to the boss and see what the official policy is, because this is someone's private phone and they could have private information on that. And so you do kind of put yourself at risk if you're touching people's private devices.
Yeah, I think that it was reasonable for OP to want this phone off, but I do agree with you. I think the approach that OP took maybe not necessarily the best one. At this point in time, I think that OP should go to HR first and, explain the situation. That way, if this coworker does decide to go to HR, OP already has the narrative that has already told them, explained the situation to them. I think it's a difficult situation because I agree with the coworker to some degree. You shouldn't be poking around in other people's stuff. But I also understand OP being like, this alarm is going off. It's kind of annoying. Let's turn it off here, right? Clearly, it wasn't working to be an alarm if the person hasn't, discovered it. And in all likelihood, they just set the alarm so they would, have whatever was going on and then, accidentally ran off before they could even get the alarm. So I feel bad for that person because they clearly set it for a reason. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Former Best Friend, a 29-year-old male, confessed his feelings 3 months ago before my wedding. And I, a 29-year-old female, am not sure what to do about our mutual friends. I'm a 29-year-old female and I'm getting married to the love of my life, a 32-year-old male, Tom, fake name, in 3 months. I was casually on a run with my now former best friend, a 29-year-old male, Jim, fake name, who I've known since freshman year. During a break, he was like, I am really happy that you're getting married, but I'm a little sad to see you go. I was not sure what he meant, so I kept on pushing. He said that back in college, he didn't know how to approach girls, and that he was hoping that our friendship would eventually blossom into a romantic relationship. He said that in his mind, we could have made a great couple if circumstances were different. I never had any romantic feelings towards him at all. These were one-sided feelings from him all along. I was devastated by the revelation because I always viewed it as a friendship when it seemed like he was just biding his time to get into my pants. Tom said that he was not comfortable with Jim coming to the wedding or with hanging around Jim alone. When I texted Jim about what Tom wanted, Jim sent me a series of passive-aggressive messages, including ones that were subtly questioning my future marriage. I was quite annoyed by the nature of the messages. During our next group outing of my friend's circle that Tom does not typically join, it's a circle of friends from our freshman days, it was super awkward in the interactions between myself and Jim. One of the others in the group privately asked me what was going on between us. Jim has been disinvited from the wedding. The problem is that everyone from the friends circle is invited too. Most of them are closer in friendship than Jim and myself. It will be extremely awkward if they ask where Jim is, given how close we are. I am considering disinviting all of them as well, but also making things awkward when my family asks where my friends are. Will it be best to disinvite the mutual friends to the wedding? All right, folks, what do you think?
If these are honestly your friends, OP, then you should be able to have a conversation about them, about what went down. I understand that it might be uncomfortable to talk about. I know this is very uncomfortable to have this kind of revelation put before you, but if you want to continue maintaining friendships, just uninviting them all from the wedding is not going to do it. You know, it's gonna raise more questions. People are gonna wonder why you're cutting them off all of a sudden. So I think, unless you're planning on completely ghosting all of them indefinitely, which I wouldn't recommend, you do need to have some kind of conversation with them, explain the situation, and let them make the decision if they want to go or not on their own.
I think that OP is kind of overthinking this, and they don't need to say anything beyond, Jim and I had a falling out, and I don't feel comfortable right now talking about it. And that's that. They don't need to know the details, and OP doesn't have to share those details if they aren't comfortable with sharing them. And that's really all anyone's going to need. And I mean, maybe they'll press Jim about his side of the story, and OP has to expect that that might be the case, right? But if OP doesn't want to share the story, then they, don't have to, and there's a very simple answer that they should respect. So I think that maybe Jim said something that was very in poor taste. You certainly can't change how you feel about somebody, right? Like, you can't choose to be attracted to somebody or not attracted to somebody, but you can also just not make things awkward for somebody if you know they're getting married and that they are, going to be, if they had a partner and stuff like that. And I think like Jim needs to kind of understand that they put OP in a really awkward and bad situation. And he should understand why he's been disinvited from the wedding, and he should apologize and say, when I said it that, I didn't really mean it in that way or something like that, unless they really meant it that way, right? So I get OP's discomfort, and I think that Jim really, threw a spanner into the whole works here. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
How do you get a runner to remember you?
You get a runner to remember you by speeding past them and getting to the finish line before they do, and then, claiming that you're now their nemesis.
Jog their memory.
Every single time you tell them that you've beaten them, that'll jog their memory. And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy special Sunday, folks. And you know what makes it special? You do, and Amber does too.
And Brian does too.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please have it on wearing strongly scented perfumes around people who are asthmatic.
Don't do that.
It's probably not a very nice thing to do unless you're trying to make it so that they don't have a good life. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.